Hey, Chanel here with another Sew Bit. Today we're going to talk about machine stitches. All the stitches that come on your machine. Mine has 25. 16 of them are, not 16, but 14 through 25 are stretch stitches, which are sometimes decorative. The stretch stitch is pretty cool. It really helps you sew knits. Basically, every machine differs. They'll have the basic stitches, but look on yours, you may have just a ton of them, you might just have a few of them. The best thing to do is to go through your catalog. And I found on my catalog first this page right here, and it just lists all the stitches and like what width stitch to use, what length stitch to use. That's my width button is up here, my length is here, it goes from 1 to 4 on mine. Everybody's is different. Some that had electronic, you have to go beep, 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 and go to the length. And so the length of the stitches just, goes from tighter to longer, longer, longer. It's like in the last one, the longest one is the basting stitch. So I hope you know all that. If not, got to refer to your manual. Width stitch is the zigzag. It's like when it goes wide. My stitch is from 1 to 5. I think it's 1 to 5, yeah. And I keep it in the right here because I changed the foot pedal to a zigzag foot, and this basically moves the needle around on my machine. I'm not sure on all machines, but I just actually spent a half hour on my machine and went through most of the stitches. I even made a buttonhole right here and just looked at, so then you have like a little diagram of what they look like, because they don't exactly look like on fabric as they do on here. So then I wrote down on them with my little friction pens, the erasables. I keep wanting to iron this, but all my ink will come off. So, and I wrote down like what stitch it is, and right here like I put this zigzag stitch, but what it looks like in different widths and different lengths, because they're all adjustable, and the books will tell you how they go. So I thought I'd run over some of the basic with you, and we'll just do like, you know what straight stitch is, right? So basically zigzag, like what's it for? We use zigzag stitch a lot just to kind of overcast frayed edges, instead of pinking a seam, just kind of overcast it to help it stop zigs from it raveling. And then you can also use it as decorative. It's also good for stretch knits if your machine doesn't have a stretch stitch, or if you don't want to go, the stretch stitch is actually 3 stitches on top of each other, so that if you had to take them out, they're really hard. You can also sew over elastic with the zigzag stitch, but there's actually on my machine there's a number 6 here, 6 and then the 9, and it's a funny little stitch. It's it goes, where to put it? It's like a zigzag here, and I did different widths right here, but throughout the zigzag it actually goes stitch, stitch to the point, stitch, stitch to the point, so it helps anchor down elastic a little better. And also you can take 2 pieces of fabric and zigzag in the middle, and it combines them. I did a little fake tear in one of these too, and you can actually, like tears, like in your clothes, you can actually zigzag over it. It's going to show, but what are you going to do? So we have number 2. Actually, we're going to go number 3, just your zigzag stitch right here, and I have it on just 2.5 here. If I move it to 5, this goes much wider. I think I'll move this in the camera in for you. See if you can see it a little bit better. I guess that's not going to work. There you go. That might help. Like that. So it goes a little bit wider. And then you can also change the length. So if I put it on 4, which is the longest stitch, it goes much longer, faster, versus if I put it on like 1. It's really close together. So I'll show you what that looks like. That's these right here. So you got real close together, longer, and not so long. Now the really cool one that most machines come with is a blind hemmer one. And that would be at number, it's either 4 or 5, because it basically, what a blind hemmer is you're hemming fabric. You have to really practice this to make it work pretty well. But if this were like your hem right here, and then you had the roll up, this kind of has it hides this stitch. Instead of hand stitching it over, it actually stitches it for you. But it's so hard to get it good. It's just, so I start it like the needle down in one spot, kind of doing this on the side. Oh, and then I'm going to put this on longer, probably longest right here. And it will, you have to just barely hit this fold right here. And it only really works if your fabric is just real, it's like straight. So it looks like a zigzag stitch. It's like that's the back of it. And it's in here, but it's catching ever so slightly the top part here. So then this would be your hem there. It's not exactly how you do the hem, but it's just to give you an example of how it just catches that. You'd have to play around with it. I actually have a blind hemmer machine that I haven't used for a long time, but I used to hem a lot of pants, and you just put it through there, and you still have to kind of really catch it. You just have to barely catch the top fabric. So it's a little tricky, but another really cool stitch, let me see, you got your zigzag stitches, which I already showed you here, straight stitch. There's just a lot of decorative stitches that are, I guess, my favorite ones. But then these are, on my machine, 10, 11, and 12 is good for patchworks. And they're right in here. And we do a lot of patchwork skirts in our classes too, but we never use these, but they're just harder to take out. And you can actually just sew, if you have two pieces together, you can sew as it catches, sews and it catches. It does, it kind of looks like an S basically. So that's cool if it helps I know to help my little students kind of sew in a straighter line, but my goal is with patchwork skirts on them is to sew in a straight line. Then we have, like I like number 13, which is a decorative stitch. Let me show you real quick the 14, which is the stretch stitch. I have to go all the way back. When you turn these two, make sure your needle's up. So it's under 2, so 2 and then 14 here, stretch stitch. And you can notice it goes, I'm gonna put it back in the straight. Actually, and I have to put it on the SS, yeah. So sometimes you have to put it on the SS. And it's going front, back, front, back, front, back, front, back. And what that helps it do is, for your stretchy fabrics, it doesn't crack when you do it, because thread doesn't stretch. And it's going front, back, front, back, front, back, front, back, like that. And it takes a long time. You can notice too how long it moves. Also, there's no guide in the stitch length. It just does what it is, and it's really hard to take out if you ever have to take anything out. You can see how thick this is right here. So if this were a stretchy fabric, this actually doesn't stretch. But if you went to, let's do, I don't have a whole lot of decorative stitches on my machine. I happen to like 13 the best. So I have to go 13, I have to go all the way around. And then I'm gonna make it the widest we can go. And then I'm gonna put it on like 2. It still just doesn't really, it's not as tight as it looks on the number. These you can just do decorative stitches after you put on a pocket or binding, something like that. So it looks like that. And I have the bobbin in backwards here, different color, or not backwards, I have it in different color. And that looks kind of cool too. It's like, so if you ever do it on the back side of stuff, it would also depend on what you're doing. So go through all your stitches and write down what they are, and then put your, kind of like here I put what the numbers were, and then I put, this one's good for elastic and joining, that's number 6 on mine. you're gonna have different stitches, and if they're the same kind of stitch, they're gonna do they don't change the name of the stitches. But I know my machine, I was looking in my book, and they have in my catalog, mine goes to 25, it goes from 26 to 32, and they're the stitches I don't have. Like there's heirloom stitches, it's a really pretty one, where you connect two pieces of fabric together and it has like a stitch in the middle. It's pretty cool. You can also do a lot of little lace work, stitching on the edges of laces, real tiny stuff. There's a lot more decorative stitches and all that. So you might have a machine that has a lot of them, and it really pays time to go through and just spend a half an hour and make yourself a little chart of what they look like, and do different color bobbins too, so you can see how your machine's acting on the back side. So that's my sew bit today. I'll see you guys next time.